Last weekend, Arsenal went to Anfield, played out a 2-2 draw. And yes, I'm tempted to say, okay, let's dissect that game. Let's break it down. What exactly went wrong? Arsenal went 2 goals up, and then Liverpool found a way back into the game. It ended 2-2. We can all, with the power of hindsight, start saying, Arteta should have done this, or this player should have done that, and all of that. But at the end of the day, it's Anfield. Arsenal is the first top 6 team to pick a point from Anfield this season, and it's not a trophy, but it's something that is worthy of note. But then, how does that result in the larger scheme of things? How does and I'm going to Femi, I want you to take it from here. How does that result affect or impact Arsenal's title charge?
I mean, the reality is this, and the title is still in our hands, and City will argue is in their hands as well. Everybody thinks that destiny is in their own hands. Why? Because we play at the Etihad in just under 2 weeks. Now, that's going to be the biggest game of the season because we go there knowing that if we avoid defeat, then we continue to keep our advantage. In fact, if we beat them, the advantage is even bigger. So the reality is this, that result only enhances our position because it keeps our destiny in our own hands. Losing that game is not what you want to do. And I mean, being 2-0 up, you don't want to, I mean, like you say, we can go back in time and start to argue all the things. I was screaming my head off saying Zinchenko needs to go off. I was screaming that Zinchenko needs to go off. You need somebody who can fight now when you're ahead of the ball. Zinchenko is a fine player, but he's not a warrior. Tierney would never have allowed this guy past him so easily like that. Now they could have scored from another situation. That's why you can shout and all you want, but it could have happened. Tierney could even have scored a home goal. So the manager is done very well to get a draw there. You look at the positives, but you've got to learn the lessons, and that's why we still go back to these things. And I'm absolutely certain you'll be speaking to the players, reviewing these clips, and making sure they learn the lessons away to City later, so that when things are going wrong, and you're going to take a player off, the player would understand why they're being taken off. Or if somebody is not putting in the right shift, and you say you're not really putting in the amount of effort I require, if I take you off, it's for the good of the team, not because I have any disrespect for you. So for me, I think it's a positive thing because you don't get the point at Anfield easily, especially if you're a top 6 team. Liverpool this season and for a while, they always take points from the big teams. They always have the best head-to-head against the big teams. So this is the first time we've taken 4 points from them in the season in a long time. I'll take that very gladly, walk away, but then realize that we've got to do something at City. So it's a positive.
I'm very sure Eddie's not happy with you. Eddie wants to win everything until the end of the season. But Eddie, 2 points. Sorry, is that 2 points? 1 point gained or 2 points dropped?
Listen, right? It's 2 points dropped, right? Because statistically, it's 2 points dropped. When you're 2-1 with 3 minutes to go to the end of the game, and you end up conceding a goal, it's 2 points dropped. But at the same time, it's 1 point gain in the fact that it's a point gain towards our ultimate goal, right? We could have left that game without any points. And in every Premier League game, and I said something that when you start getting to the last number of games, you want to be averaging at least 1.5 points in your games, right? Leading to the run-in. So actually, Arsenal did more than halfway by getting 1 point, in that game against Liverpool. So for me, actually, I'm very bullish about Arsenal's chances right now. And I am always, critical of the manager, when he does, some things, I'll come out and say it. It's not because, I kind of disregard what they've done previously, but because I really want them to be better, because I know that they can. I know that this team has the talent and the skill to win all the football matches between now and the end of the season, including City. And so I like this underdog, thing that is going on. Everyone is discounting Arsenal, saying Man City, they're going to win at the Emirates. Arsenal are going to drop points. And I look at it and I say, actually, this Arsenal is not really the same Arsenal. But I would hope that in the dressing room, the players are looking at that and are looking to prove people wrong, because everyone is thinking they cannot sustain this. And they've been saying that throughout this whole season, and Arsenal keeps coming up with the goods. So actually, for me, to answer your question, it is a point gain towards us winning the title, but it is still 2 points drop considering the context of the game.
Okay, we're going to segue into our previews for the weekend. We're going to start with the Arsenal away at West Ham game. I'm thinking that Arsenal, it's time the team starts looking at players like Jorginho, Reece Nelson, Tenny, and all of them playing more important roles in this running. And why I said this, you look at Saka against Saka in that game against Liverpool. And for most part of the game, yes, I know Saka is one of those players that you just think he's got the talent, the quality, and the mentality to just find a moment of magic and create something. But it wasn't looking like his day against Liverpool. It looked tired. It looked jaded. It looked totally marked out by Robertson. Robertson practically sat on him. Robertson and Konate were taking turns to kick him in that game. And I felt like, okay, maybe at some point in the game, what I felt we could have done against Liverpool, throw in Reece Nelson. Let Reece Nelson go up against them. Reece Nelson is a player they don't really understand very well. It's easier to have studied Saka because all season he's been doing this. You know he likes to run into players, turn into players and all of that. And so don't allow him time and space. Don't allow the ball get to him before you mark him out. I would have expected that, you know what? Throw in Reece Nelson, another style, of winger and all of that. Then in the middle, you were seeing a lot more of the possession in the second half. Liverpool dominated the game. Let Jorginho come into the side. Add him to the still we already have there. Let it be Xhaka, Jorginho, because at that point, what's his name? The captain, Odegaard, was no longer in the game. He couldn't control the game. He wasn't seeing the ball. He was losing possession. Yes, they were beginning to boss the midfield. Throw in another body that can fight. And Jorginho is a battler who's got, and I always say this, one of the qualities I love the most about Jorginho, he understands the dark secrets of football. He knows how to play those dirty tricks. Jorginho can kill attack by just some dirty tricks. So bring Jorginho into the side. Let him add him to Partey, because Partey had a great game in that game, even though at some point he had to do a little too much. Tierney should have come in earlier than he did in that game, because at some point we started realizing, because Arsenal couldn't keep possession. Zinchenko was losing possession in very critical areas. Let Tierney come into that side. And like Femi pointed out earlier, Tierney wouldn't have allowed, Salah all those spaces that he had in that second half. Tierney would sacrifice going forward for man marking, Salah. But at the end of the day, like I said, going into the West Ham game and the rest of the season, we need to give Emil Smith-Rowe, Jorginho, what's his name? Jorginho and Reece Nelson. We need to give them a lot more time. I wouldn't mind starting Reece Nelson instead of Saka against West Ham. I won't mind starting him against West Ham, because I think West Ham is a game we can win. Apart from the Newcastle, I'll add Chelsea, regardless of how poor they are. It's a London derby, and we've got to be wary of that tie as well. I'll add Chelsea, Newcastle, and the game at the Etihad as 3 games that we've got to go, and then Brighton as well as games we need to, go into. So against West Ham, I would love to see a Reece Nelson start instead of Saka in that game, and maybe give Kenny a start. Tenny, I beg your pardon, Tenny, give him a starting whatever. Let Zinchenko rest. Yes, everybody. It's easy now to try to attack the left side of our defense, because we know Zinchenko will not be there all the time. So throw the long balls like Liverpool did most of the game. Throw those long balls. You are going to drag Big Gabby out of the place, meaning our central defense area is open. So that's what I think we should do against West Ham. I don't know what you guys think about that.
Yeah,
for me, go on, Eddie.
Go on, Femi.
Okay, for me, I mean, there's a lot of good in what you've said, but to wrap it, very quickly, I'll probably say I'll stick more of Trossard into the team. Even against Liverpool, I would have brought Trossard in for what's his name? Trossard in for Saka, Tierney for Zinchenko, and just like that brilliant idea you came up with, you can have Jorginho in the middle to replace Odegaard, because we didn't have the ball. There are some players that thrive when you have the ball. But when you don't have the ball, you need battlers. And what we needed at that time was battlers that could do the job. But the way at West Ham, you don't really need battlers. You need fine players, people who can take on the ball, pass people, because our quality is better than that of West Ham. Whereas against Liverpool, they have quality, they have power, they have pace, they have the crowd, and it's a different ball game. So, I mean, I do see your point. But if I was going to start making changes, I won't change too many things personally. I'll probably say Trossard in there for Saka if he's tired. If Saka looks fine enough, put him in the team. And I don't know if I agree with you 100% that Saka is somebody that may find a spark. Saka starts well and ends well. The day he's going to be dead, you know he's going to be dead. And that game, he was dead from the start. I would not have given him.
But we've seen a Saka in games, I can mention like two, that it was totally off, but all of a sudden he pops up and scored a goal.
Oh, well, because that can happen to anybody, but he's not that kind of player. I think he's somebody in my own book that dominates from start to finish. Most times,
yeah. But there are days when
that's what the manager then needs to know, that he's not having a good game today. You need to take him off and put some. I mean, Trossard went to Anfield and scored a hat-trick the last time I was writing. So there's nothing wrong with sticking him in there, and he's done an excellent job for us. If he's on the bench and your star boy is not doing really well, don't put too much pressure on him. Put the other guy there who can do the job. It's for the team. So I do get your point that you need to mix it up a little, but I think for West Ham and Co, you don't want to do more than 1 or 2 changes maximum, because you need the flow of the team to continue, and you need to win the game in the first 60 minutes if you can.
I feel you need the flow, but you also need the freshness, and that's
they've had a whole week off. They're not in the Europa League.
Saka had the whole week off last weekend, but still up until last weekend, but it was still off.
He didn't have the whole week actually. They said he was sick. Did you not hear that?
Yeah, he was
wasn't well. And that's what I was saying. How can the manager stick him in the game for 90 minutes?
Sorry, it wasn't well, but he came on the week before and he trained all week. Unlike the week before, where he didn't train.
But coming up to Liverpool, he had been unwell. So the reality
No, it's not. It's the game before the Liverpool game that was unwell.
That's what I'm saying. But the reality is you don't get back to 100% when you're unwell. That's we're human.
Saka trained all week. If there was a problem, I don't think Arteta would have started him again.
But then I wouldn't have stuck anyway. I mean, I wouldn't have stuck him on the pitch for that long. Even if he said he was well and he trained, and he wasn't really producing, you would naturally, reasonably just. But maybe Trossard wasn't in a good frame of mind as well. You never know what's in there. So the manager
I think it's about you're playing Liverpool, play your best 11.
Yeah, that's right.
And Saka has been one of our best players all season. Eddie, you were going to say something.
Yeah, I mean, I do have an alternative view as to what really happened in that second half. You know, for me, there's just some things that are unexplained at Anfield. And that Anfield crowd are capable of doing things to anyone, especially when you play towards the cup end. And, you know, Saka was playing on the strong side of Liverpool, to be fair, their defense, because that's Robertson and Virgil van Dijk were on that side of defense. So, you know, these are not bad players. Eventually, they were going to figure something out. And when the crowd got into it, they started to figure things out. You know, they stopped letting him come inside, and, you know, they started doubling up on him. So he was ineffective. Our strength was always on that other side of the pitch, you know, where Trent and Alexander-Arnold was playing the Zinchenko role, and you also had Konate as well. So listen, let's forget about the Liverpool game. Against West Ham, for me, you know, this is a game that, yes, introduced some freshness. I don't really mind. I just think that you just need another game like this to get it out of your system, get a couple of goals in early, and now you're back in the groove. You know, so for me, I like to see Trossard play. I think it's very, very important, you know, for us to get everybody contributing at this part of the season. So for me, I think, you know, West Ham should be a game that we should get that good feeling back.
We didn't predict the Arsenal win. Let's quickly predict the Arsenal. I think Arsenal is going to win this one 4-1.
Well, you're very enthusiastic. Eddie, what are your thoughts?
It's an away game, and so I'm going to go with a 2-1 victory to Arsenal.
Away from home at West Ham as well, who are scraping for points. A London derby, they'll be up for it. Wish we had Sanchez to come and score those goals like he did back then, but We'll take a 2-1. I think a 2 or 3-1, possibly. 3-1, I think, to the Arsenal, just to wrap it up in the end. Fantastic.
Awesome. Let's go to another game quickly, guys. And that's Brighton. Brighton have an opportunity to play in Europe next season, and I don't think they're going to let off at all in that one. But this weekend, Brighton are away at Chelsea. Chelsea, new manager, same old story. Last weekend, 1-0, they lost to Wolverhampton Wanderers. But against the Brighton that is flying pretty high, what can Chelsea do to slow Brighton down? Or is there anything they can actually do to slow Chelsea down? Femi, let's start with you.
Slowing Brighton down is going to be a hard one because Brighton have played fewer games, funny enough, than Chelsea, and they're way ahead of them in the table. So you have to give them respect, and they keep finding ways to win games. So if they win their games in hand, they will definitely go into sixth above Aston Villa. I mean, just draw one of the 2 games they have in hand, they will go above Villa. So the top 6 team this season, Chelsea have not played like a team that's a top 6 team. They're not even in the top 10, and so I would really think it's going to be very hard. I mean, they've got Lampard. He's a genuine, honest person, and he's done really well with his career. But I don't think.
Why did I feel like there was a bot coming when you said it's a
exactly? But I don't think it's worked for him as a Chelsea manager so far. If you've come in and you've lost your first 2 games, I mean, okay, you can lose at Real Madrid, fine, they had the red card, but you can't lose at Wolves in your first game. A team lower than you in the table, away from home, you've got to gather something. The worst thing you could do is just get a point there. But they've lost that, they've lost the second one, and I don't see where the confidence is going to come from against Brighton. Now, Brighton are a good team, and I think Chelsea will be in trouble there. I really do.
Eddie.
Yeah, listen, Brighton are right in it. That was a very disastrous outing by the referees against Spurs in the last weekend game. So I only see one winner in that game, and I think it's going to be Brighton. Brighton are going to come out trumps. I just hope it's not a bad scoreline, for Chelsea, because they kind of need something to break for them. So I'm going to go with a 2-1, victory for Brighton in this game, because I can only see one winner in that game.
So I agree with you. In the last 4, Brighton hasn't lost to Chelsea. They've drawn 3 and won 1-1, and I think it's going to be the same here. They're not going to lose this game. So I'm predicting a Brighton win, 2-1 to Brighton.
3-1.
Final game, just predict this one quickly. Just predict predictions. Aston Villa, Newcastle United, 2 teams on the rise, 2 teams that are doing very well right now. Aston Villa, Newcastle United, I think it's going to end in a Villa victory. I think it's going to end in a Villa victory, 2-1. So
yeah, I'm with you as well. So I'm going to go with a Villa victory as well. I'm going to go with a 2-1 victory to Villa.
I don't see that happening. Newcastle are a solid team. I think it's going to be a 1-1, personally. Away from home, Newcastle are very solid, and they're not going to give it much away against Villa. So Villa won't score 2 goals against them. I'm absolutely certain. So 1-1.
All right, Femi, the unbeliever there. All right. So, guys, that's about all we can bring you today on the show. Thanks for being part of the show. Again, today, remember, guys, share with your network, share with your friends, share with everybody you know on social media and everywhere, and spread the good work we're doing. Don't forget to also leave your comments. Tell us what we can do to improve the show. Tell us what we need to add to this so that we can make it better for your viewing pleasure. Till the next time we'll come your way again. From me, it's bye-bye, Femi.
Yeah, definitely, guys. Absolutely a pleasure to be back with the lads, and I'm sure you've enjoyed today. Just like, share, comment. Remember to send it to the people you owe money so they can actually get you a reprieve like we promised you at the start. So if it doesn't work, go and find Kali. I'm not there. It's not me.
If it doesn't work, go and find their money.
It wasn't me.